Well, hello there. I know, you're not used to me starting a video like this. You're used to something more like... Welcome to another episode of Erik Wait Whiskey Studies, and in this video I'm going to do a review of the Highland Park 15-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey. But before I get into this, I'm going to tell you about the profile of Highland Park Distillery, their core range, and this whiskey. Highland Park Distillery is the northernmost single malt Scotch whisky distillery in Scotland, located in Kirkwall on the Orkney Islands. The name of the distillery does not refer to the Scottish Highlands, but rather to the fact that the distillery was founded on an area called High Park, distinguished from a lower area nearby. Highland Park Distillery was founded by Magnus, a butcher and church officer by day, and illicit distiller and whiskey smuggler by night. In 1798, he was caught illegally distilling whiskey on the site. In 1826, nearly 30 years later, Highland Park received an official license to distill whiskey. In 1999, Edrington acquired the famous grouse, the Macallan, and Highland Park Distillery. "30% of their malt comes from their 5 malting floors with a capacity of almost 36 tons. It's peated at 30 to 40 ppm. The other 70% of the barley comes from Simpsons and is unpeated. They have a 12-ton semi-lauter mash tun. They use 12 Oregon pine washbacks with a fermentation time of 50 to 80 hours. They have 4 stills, 2 wash stills, and 2 spirit stills. The Highland Park Core Range. The Highland Park 10-year-old Viking Scars single malt Scotch whiskey, aged in European and American sherry seasoned cask, has natural color and is bottled at 40% alcohol by volume. The Highland Park 12-year-old Viking Honor single malt Scotch whiskey, aged in European and American sherry seasoned oak cask, has natural color and is bottled at 43% alcohol by volume. The Highland Park 15-year-old Viking Heart single malt Scotch whiskey, aged for 15 years in first fill sherry seasoned European oak cask, is bottled at 44% alcohol by volume in a white ceramic bottle, sells for about $115 in my neighborhood. The Highland Park 18-year-old Viking Pride single malt Scotch whiskey, aged in first fill seasoned European and American oak cask, is bottled at 43% alcohol by volume. The Highland Park Cask Strength single malt Scotch whiskey, matured in predominantly sherry seasoned American oak cask of different ages. It's non-gel filtered, has natural color, is bottled at 63.3% alcohol by volume. So, I've had a few Highland Park bottles. I visited the distillery back in 2019. Probably one of the best or most dramatic whiskey journeys I've ever had because it's so far north up there in Orkney. So, I've had a couple other Highland Park bottles. One was the Magnus, named after Magnus, and that was sort of 40 ABV. And then I had, entry level. And then I had one called the Dark, what the hell was it? Dark something, dark something, whatever the hell it was. I don't remember. It was early in my whiskey journey. And now I got the 15-year-old. Now, all these are clear with the exception of this 12-year-old, which is the Ness of Brodgar. So this is the 12-year-old Viking Honor, which I really like. Easy to get, affordable, and just a no-brainer buy. This is slightly higher ABV, also 12-year-old, but distillery only. This is the 18-year-old, which is quite nice, but I'd rather buy the 12-year-old in terms of quality-price ratio. And this is the Cask Strength, which is my favorite in the core range. If I was going to recommend just one, particularly since you can typically get it for under $100, I'm going to go for the Cask Strength. Now, the 15-year-old This is a different 15-year-old that they had out earlier. This is put in this very sort of strange, I don't really get it. It is a ceramic bottle, a white ceramic bottle. What's the point? Is this supposed to be like a collector's item? Then I'm supposed to save it? It's 44 ABV, which is kind of nice. And it's a really nice whiskey. I'm just trying to figure out what's the point of the ceramic bottle, other than, I don't know, people like to collect bottles or something. I don't know. I like these ones because the caps fit a little tighter. This one kind of pops off a little easier. At least it doesn't break. Let's get into the whiskey. So when I first opened it, it was a little disjointed. It needs some aeration. A lot of whiskeys need aeration. Even if you're doing a neck pour, you know, maybe pour yourself a little bit, let it sit there on the countertop, on the table for an hour or so, and then come back to it. Not only does it help a whiskey open up, it helps various components become more integrated, particularly peated whiskeys, and especially this one. This 15-year-old, when I first opened it up, I thought it was a little odd. Actually, in the mid palate, and I wasn't expecting this, it seemed new-makey, which you would not expect from a 15-year-old. The middle of the palate seemed really, really youthful. Coming back to it a day later, dramatic difference. Out of all these, and then the other Highland Park, I've also had some independent bottles. I've had, I think it was a Douglas Lang one that I had. Also, Scotch Malt Whisky Society I've had, those are fantastic. This is the most barbecue note of all the Highland Parks that I think I've ever had. Highland Park is moderately peated. So is Oban, and so is Bowmore. Bowmore, you know, they're all 40, 43s in that range for their core range. Oban, kind of in that same ballpark. Oban is moderately peated. Bowmore is moderately peated, but the peat comes across very different. And while Bowmore tends to be more on the sherry cask, Oban can lean more into your bourbon casks. Highland Park is all about the sherry cask. And what is so distinctive about Highland Park and all of these whiskeys, which really makes them stand out from Bowmore or any other peated sherry cask, let's say, even say ammonia from Bunnahabhain, or one of the sherry cask peated whiskeys from Bunnahabhain, or even a sherry cask like so the Ugadal from Ardbeg, is this is really spicy. Highland Park is almost like the king of spice when it comes to the cask, which is what I think makes them seem much more barbecue-like, barbecue rub. I'm more of a barbecue rub guy than a barbecue sauce guy, because I find a barbecue rub is easier to pair with wines. Sauce might go with beer, but sauce tends to sort of overdo wine. Anyway, back to the whiskey. Now that it has a little more aeration, it has become much more integrated, and this is intensely spicy and heavy duty on the barbecue. Also, it is smokier. It is much more like a braised meat, barbecue meat that you just got off the grill. It does have the classic sherry notes, figs, dates, raisins, some vanilla. It has pepper. It has licorice or anise. There's a saltiness, brown sugar, and an airplane flying overhead. I don't know if you can hear that. There's an airplane going up down the coast. It was probably the Coast Guard going up down the coast. I live right next to the ocean. A little bit of vanilla, some chocolate, maybe a little bit of coffee on the palate. Sweet up front, then goes herbal and savory in the mid to the back of the palate, on the finish, on the follow through. Intensely spicy, barbecue rub, vanilla, a little chocolate, those dark dried black fruit notes, fig, dates, raisins, dried plums, caramel. It's got a higher saltiness to it than most of the Highland Parks. It's got a really long spicy finish. I think what I really like about Highland Park is the finish and the intense spice that lingers on the finish. The development is real nice. The mouthfeel is decent. It's not real heavy or real viscous, but it also isn't thin. I would say this is spice forward. It's a spice dominant whiskey, much more than any fruit character, although it does have those dried black fruit notes. Moderate smokiness. When you breathe in and out after you swallowed, like that, it's as if you're smoking something, but you're smoking herbs. Like you have an herbal cigarette, or you have you took some licorice, light it on fire, and you're smoking licorice. It's kind of like, it's like a smoky licorice. I really like this whiskey, but it isn't necessarily my favorite because it's not as balanced. The spice is so dominant over the fruit character. I would rather have something that had a better fruit characteristic to it. It's really spice driving the bus on this one. If you're gonna buy one Highland Park, and if you can get one, what I'm gonna recommend, and I mentioned this earlier, is I would get the cask strength. Bang for the buck in terms of ABV, delivery of flavor. It's high ABV, but it's also balanced. All the characteristics of the whiskey are homogeneous. It just goes together really well. If you're new to Scotch whiskey and a higher ABV might blow you away, quality price ratio, the Highland Park 12-year-old Viking Honor, as you can see, look, it's almost gone here, is an easy sipper, very approachable, and yet it has all the fruit notes I want, and it has the spice character I want. And if you happen to ever be on Orkney and visit Highland Park, yeah, pick up a special bottle. What the hell? The money for this one, for the Ring of Brodgar, Ness of Brodgar, there's the Standing Stone of Stenness, which is a standing stone on Orkney, and then there's the Ring of Brodgar, and this goes to the archaeological dig of the Ring of Brodgar. The 18-year-old Highland Park is nice, but it's really expensive for what you're getting. And that's my biggest challenge. It's really, if someone's going to give it to you, it's really nice. It's a better whiskey than the 12-year-old, but the amount you're paying for is kind of nuts. I would take that same money and buy a bottle of, you could buy, in fact, for the price of the 18-year-old, you can buy a bottle of the cask strength and the 12-year-old, and then blend the two to get a higher AB whiskey to be really nice. That being said, the 15-year-old is really nice. I'll give it a 87 points. 87 points. So it's sort of in the B score there. All right, that's it for this review. If you subscribe to this channel, I want to thank you very much. If you've not yet subscribed, but you like watching my videos, I would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I go live or posting a video. And if you had this 15-year-old and you have a different opinion, or if you agree with me, let me know down below. And until next time, Slàinte. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out these other whiskey videos.